what's your name and what do you do?
Well, my name is Vittorio Storaro. I am a cinematographer. I'm not a director of photography.
Why not?
Because I think director photography has two major mistakes into his own word. A movie is like an orchestra. It has only one conductor, only one director. Doesn't have a director for actor, director for the style. In my opinion, photography, writing with light, is an expression in one single images. We are expressing ourselves in cinematography, kino, movement, motion. So we need time, we need rhythm, we need some kind of, like in a music wave, in order to tell the story. So in my opinion, like in photography, who is expressing himself is photographer, in cinematography is a cinematographer. That's it.
How did you get started? How did you become a cinematographer?
I was lucky that my father has a beautiful dream. He was a projectionist in a very big company in Italy in the 50s, Lux Film. And he was dreaming probably to be part of the image that he was screening. So he put his dream on me. And I was lucky that that dream, it's kind of contagious dream. So it became my own dream. Since then, doing several schools, till the Italian film school, I realized that that's really was my life mean, searching into the mystery of light.
How did you get into film school? I heard there was a lot of competition.
When for the first time I went to the Italian film school, Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia, I was too young. I was only 16. And they told me, I'm sorry, Mr. Storaro, but you have to be at least 18. So I selected another film school in order to keep myself as a student, even if I was working in the afternoon, because my family was very poor family, and I couldn't afford just to be a student. But I know that if you stop study, sometimes it's difficult to go back to be a student. So I was keeping myself in a student mode, let's say. 2 years later, I went back over there and I was ready to perform the examination to get into the film school. And they told me, I'm sorry, but we changed the rules. Now you have to be 20. And I said, oh my God, I have no any more school to do. So what I can do? And they said to me, well, you can try, because there is into the rules that if in case you pass the examination, they can accept you. So I was very worried, because I really realized at that time that my father's dream became really my dream, to be a cinematographer. And I prepared myself very seriously, but I knew that in case, at that time in Italy, they accepted only 3 cinematographers every year. So in case I was arriving third, together with somebody at 20 years old, I was out. Thanks God, my name is Storaro. So S coming almost at the end of the examination. I remember that at the beginning we were 500 people questioning to be inside the school. There was a major selection, and we arrived to be 30 students to take the examination at the end. So the commission was a very large commission. Started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they were still taking care about several students, and I was almost one of the last. Everyone was very angry. Somebody probably left. So when I came into this large room of the commission, there was a huge table, lots of people all around, and I was very shy. I was just 18, and I said, "Oh my God! I mean, I will never do." And I was lucky enough that when I sit down, one teacher in front of me, Ingegnere Innamorati, I remember, he asked me one technical questions, and I was pretty knowledgeable at that time about technology, because I'd done 5 years in photography, 2 years in other school. So I was so shy at the time that usually it was hard for me to start speaking, but the moment I take the question into my mind, I start speaking, and I never stop. So only after an hour and a half, everyone was exhausted that they want to go to lunch. They said to me, "Okay, Mrs. Storaro, you okay? Okay, don't worry, go ahead." And I arrived first.
I guess you're not so shy after all. John?
My wife helped me not to be shy, I have to say. I was really shy at that time. My wife has Antonia. We met just before this examination. We were very young, and we've been together since now. And her spirit helped me to don't worry about anybody else, just be myself.
I'm just going in a totally different direction.
I know, that's why I'm leading you in the other direction.
In your busy schedule, how do you juggle a family life and a life in cinematography?
I don't think that you can divide the two. You can divide the private life with public life. In fact, I was a little bit uncomfortable in Italy at the beginning of my career when I have to close the door of my house, say hello to my wife and my children, and wearing the professional dress, let's say. Something told me that I have to divide myself in two. And I have to say thanks to Francis Coppola when I started with him in Apocalypse Now. He has a totally different vision. I mean, families belong to the set belongs to the family. The chance that we have, all the children are walking around, Sofia, Giovanni, Francesca, and Gio, and Roman, and Fabrizio, all around the set was great. You never feel that you leave part of yourself behind you. In the evening, when we had dinner together with Francis, or during the weekend, while we were cutting onions or preparing the sauce for the pasta, we were talking about the main monologue of Cars. We were talking about the main concept of Apocalypse Now. This mixing of personal and your professional expression to me was magic.
Okay, so John Schwartzman said you were a mentor when he was a student, and you said he should just trust his emotion. And he said, that's all very well and good, you're Vittorio Storaro.
Well, I believe that you always are yourself. You always are Vittorio Storaro in my life. That doesn't mean that professionally. Sorry.
Start again.
Yeah.
John Schwartzman.
No. Well, I believe that when somebody said to you, when you reach one particular level in your profession, yeah, but you can do that because you are this and this. In my case, Vittorio Storaro. I said I always was Vittorio Storaro, even at my beginning. When I started, nobody knew me, nobody, saw myself compared to what I did before. I think that you should be always yourself. From when you start, from when you are in the journey, or when you think you reach one specific place. That's part of your personality, part of your way of thinking, part of your way of doing. Many times, yes, young cinematographers are telling me, you can do that, or maybe refuse the project, or maybe do one selection in your life because you are now this kind of person. I always did that. I mean, I remember that on the first film, Giovinezza, Giovinezza, and I was doing tests for actors. And we were like more or less your crew, a small crew. We were working in a very simple way and just trying to understand what the movie is supposed to look like. And somehow I found myself uncomfortable for what the director asked me to do. And I was forced to do it. And at the end of the day, I was 28. I say to him, goodbye, I don't think I come back tomorrow because I don't think you need me. You need someone that just put one light, just let you see whoever's in front of you, not in a particular way that you want to see this person. So I don't think I come back tomorrow. I was married 2 years before. We already have one daughter. My wife was expecting a child, and we had only $50 in bank. And I say no. And Franco Rosi was great. He said me, no, Vittorio, forgive me. I mean, I didn't mean to change the way that you were supposed to do. This is what I'm expecting from you. So I need just to, in that case, to see completely the figure of this person because I have to understand. So from tomorrow, I maybe tap you. So when you say that I tap you, maybe just let me see completely the body without thinking in the way the cinematography of the picture is supposed to be. And that was wonderful. And I was Vittorio Storaro then on my first film.
So that was sort of liberating, being able to follow your emotion.
Just be yourself.
Yeah. You said yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, a really interesting concept about how you have to, I think you said you have to love your job. When you stop loving your job, then the feeling is gone in your work.
I remember during Spider Stratagem, that was the first film with Bernardo Bertolucci as a cinematographer. We started, for the first time Bernardo told me, I remember you, Vittorio, when you were an assistant with me before the revolution, and the way that you were approaching your work, and I love so much the way you did it. And now I know that you are a cinematographer, you've done already 2 movies. I would love that you can do this movie with me. It's a very small movie, but I want to do in direct sound. In Italy at that time we were not using direct sound because to me sound has the same level of images. So but we have no money, the crew is very small, so maybe we should do in 60 millimeter because that's the way that we maybe can handle this crew. We done some tests. We went to see in the laboratory and I said to Bernardo, Bernardo, I think the style of the picture requires much higher quality, and I don't think that it will work. And he was watching this test. He said, I think you're right. So we pick up the box, we throw on the floor. And we said, we carry ourselves the big camera that at that time was needed to hold sound. We went to in location, and we start shooting. I couldn't use the laboratory they were thinking to use because we started in this small laboratory. And after the first day, we received dailies, and the dailies were very bad. And I was really shocked because I was not expecting something like that, some kind of quality. A panic everywhere, and I said to Enrico, my camera operator, Enrico, take the the new dailies, go to Rome, and go to the laboratory we're supposed to go, because I don't think that I want to continue with this laboratory. And I said to Bernardo, Bernardo, this is the reason, in my opinion, technically speaking, this is what's happened. Bernardo left, so Enrico left, went to Technicolor of Rome, where Ernesto Novelli, which I knew already, I called him to take care of this new material. In the journey, they went, they come back. I did 1 day of shooting that was totally insecure. I was totally panicked. I lost the kind of love for my creativity, and I would start to worry. I would start to worry that the exposure was not right, the filter was not correct, the shot was not in focus, everything was not precise in the way that we want to be. And I had 24 hours of really nightmare. And I remember Marilu, the photographer, told me, Vittorio, in photography and cinematography, that we have to deal with the mystery of the system itself. If we lose this link between ourselves and the creativity that really keep with incredible love what we're doing, we are lost. And I remember that line since ever. And till you love what you're doing so much and so strongly, you never fear. If you start to be in a kind of doubt or your possibility, you don't have the strength to try, to experiment, to go beyond the limit of technology that you know already. In this case, you are trapped. And if you trap, your fantasy, your freedom, your intelligence is being locked. If you lock, don't do cinematography.
Related to that, I think you also said that film is much more sensitive than its exposure latitude. It registers emotion, or there's more to it than just stops, I think you said.
Yeah, well, I think that each one of us in any moment of our life, doesn't matter which kind of profession we're doing, are receiving energy from all over the world that is around us, and at the same time is sending energy. This energy, that's why when we're watching a screen and we're watching an image, we receive some kind of emotion, because that light, that shadows, that color bouncing on the screen, arriving on us, we don't see that only with the eyes, we see with the entire body. We are a photographic film, practically, because light is energy, so this vibration arriving on us change our metabolism, change our blood pressure. So now I'm sending some vibration to you, to the camera, to the film. I'm receiving from the camera operator, whatever it is, unconsciously. I don't know exactly what, the wavelength or much or whatever. But I'm sure that now the image that is being captured right there is the sum of this light right here, is the sum of our thought all together, that's going over there, and the film is able to have a registration of this emotion. So is much more sensitive that the technician that is around to us are telling to us. Is able to have our emotion, put it over there.
It's a combination of matter and energy, I suppose, and emotion.
No doubt.
Why does a movie look the way it does? Why do your movies look the way they do? Where does this all come from?
Well, I think movies a collective artwork, is not a single one. I do not believe that a movie can be done by a single person. I'm telling this to young filmmakers because in teaching in the Academy of Images, often I encounter people that tell me, I'm here because I want to do a movie by myself. I think cinema is a really, that's why it's called Decima Musa, because it's nourishing itself from the other 9 muses, from literature, from painting, from dancing, from philosophy, from sculpture, from architecture. Only when you are, cinema is really today an art form that combine all the different art forms. Each one of us practically is able to give exactly what they have in their own mind, in their own culture, in their own background, in their own education, mainly in one specific art form. No doubt that the script is written by somebody that knows literature. No doubt that somebody that wrote music in cinema because all his life is about music. No doubt that who is doing the art direction knows the scenography, means writing with scena, with the set. Cinematography is writing with light and movement. But what we are writing about, that's the main point to me. Since ever, I posed this question to myself, particularly when I started my first film, Giovinezza Giovinezza, with Franco Rossi. I realized that I was so well prepared in technology as a cinematographer that I knew very well, perfectly, any single technical element. I didn't know why I was doing that. And I realized that unless I was preparing myself in more imbalanced way, to knowing the art form, to know the different possible expression of the human being, to know the meaning of the light I was using, of the color I was using, I was not what I was doing. I knew how to do it, but I need someone else told me what to do. So from that moment on, I realized that I have to, step by step, recuperating this lack of knowledge and knowing, reading literature, poetry, and try to find understanding in architecture, or knowing more music or philosophy. Step by step, I try to realize the meaning, because at the end, there is something very, very important. You create in your own style, in any expression, personally in cinematography, only when you know in an unconscious way or conscious way who you are, what really you need to know. Any one of us in any professional practically is putting outside the creativity that he knows, the sensitivity that he has, the knowledge that he has, in expressing all of this feeling in one specific art form for one reason. He's trying to give answer to his own questions. He's trying to understand the meaning of his own life. That creates in his own point of view, very specific, very personal. When I putting myself in a position all around the world to say we are co-author of the images. We are co-author of the film for one simple reason. You can take every cinematographer doing the same scene, each one will do in a different way. Because even if they don't know, even if they're not aware, like most of the time, particularly at the beginning of our career, we're doing through an emotional state. Only afterwards we become more and more conscious and more aware we are in order to be very specific, which is the reason that you are telling or doing something in using that light, that color, and you really want to investigating in what is your life mean. And only through this kind of discovery, step by step, you realize yourself. And you put your signature in every frame because particularly just changing the color temperature in one single light is changing completely the emotion that you have in your mind. There is no doubt that just with this little movement over here, practically the mood that I want to tell now is completely different. I'm going more into introspection. I'm going more into the intellectual world. I've done this in study for 30 years. That's why I put in all my written knowledge into another art form, which is writing in a book, the meaning of light. Because if you don't know why we're using the shadows, completely black, why we're using this light, shadows means non-knowing. Light means knowing, knowledge. Light is really what is an inspiration of the human being to know his future, let's say. It belongs to consciousness, like darkness belongs to unconscious. So the relationship between this light and this darkness is very, very important. If I am totally light like that, I'm telling something very specific. I'm facing myself towards knowledge. If I'm facing myself in darkness, means that I have a doubt. It's something that I don't know. It's something that I would love to know. And when you put in relation this and this, you practically start to make a balance between two elements. Through cinematography, through our expression in this case, we are trying to understand who we are, to try to understand what our life means. And I discovered through this concentration in what I'm trying to express myself in searching for balance. I always need two different elements, light and shadows, conscious and unconscious, male and female side, in order to tell why they are separated, why they are not together. Only in doing this kind of journey, I was able to put myself completely into the light itself, and I started to go into the children of shadows and light, what Leonardo da Vinci was calling them, colors. Those give me the different emotional level. And only when I started to separate in light and shadows, color by color, I realized that only knowing them, I can put them together in the equilibrium of element. This is what my life means now. I discovered through this incredible journey on searching, experimenting, never stop to open a door of mystery. I believe that for how long we are knowledgeable in technology or in art, in our professional, we never know the end of our journey. And that's what is great. When we start any project, we more or less know where we're going, for how far we can be prepared, but every day is a discovery, and we never should be afraid to open a new door of the mystery and discover something new. This is the meaning of our life, discovering.
That's a great answer. I want to follow up on that question. Is it conscious or unconscious that you call it writing with light as opposed to painting or composing or some other word? There seems to be a literary element to this.
I believe that the main difference between the word photography in Greek is photo, light, graphy, writing, and cinematography, sino is kino, motion, so it means writing with light in movement. Photography is much closer to a modern expression of painting. You need to be knowledgeable enough to have the sensitivity to express yourself in a single image. And I know that I'm not a very good photographer. All the photography that are in my trilogy book, I don't think they are very good photographs, because I think that I've been trained, I've been educated to be a cinematographer, somebody that needs more time, more images to express himself. He needs the knowing the literature way of moving, like any writer, when he's writing a book, use his own style, like we use in the light change, or we use in a dolly, or we use in a crane, or we use in a zoom, we use in from one image to another. We need to know music. The rhythm of music that Mozart has is what we need to create in this kind of story. That's the main difference. So when somebody addresses to me and says, well, you are painting or light, yes, we're using the knowledge of painters, no doubt. But we need some kind of wave to move from one place to another, more connected with literature.
I'd like to continue a little more on that idea of writing with light as opposed to composing with light or conducting with light, or...
Yeah, well, I think that cinematography is really the possibility to writing with light in movement, like the word itself means, in a sense that the writer is writing the story of the film through literature, like the musician is writing the story of the film with the notes in order to achieve that kind of emotion. We are trying to do exactly the same thing with light. Practically, once we understand the main concept of the picture, and we understand from the director, which is the main lead, let's say, the main direction that we're supposed to go, in using our tools, our light, shadows, colors, that's what we are supposed to do. We're supposed to write with light the entire story in order to, together with the musician and the writer, under the direction of the director, of course, we are giving the right emotion to an audience. If the audience, in order to follow in a balanced way a story, need to receive a similar, let's say, direction from, we should never forget that cinema is a language of images. So image is the first impact the audience has. Through this image, you're receiving some kind of vibration. Through that image, you're receiving the music or the words, and they all three together are leading him into a specific state of emotion. If those three are in balance, you probably will have a good movie.
Some people have said that style of a movie comes from the written word, the script. Others have said it comes from the location or the emotion at the time. And feel free to use specifics, but where does it come from you, for you?
I think cinematography is a very solitary journey. It's a very personal one. you express, or any one of us, express himself through the kind of professional or creative area that he belonged to. But at the same time, cinematography do not exist without a story, do not exist without a direction. So is one personal need to express himself that goes into a multiple expression of different co-authors. They are lead in one direction from the director, but from the beginning is necessarily a very personal need. So the style of Vittorio Storaro comes from here, comes from my own personal need to understand myself, to understand what my life means. Only through this need, using all my knowledge, or my creativity, or my sensitivity, I can be able to perform, I can be able to give into that project, putting in front of the hand of the director the chance to express in myself. And it's up to him to using, like with any other co-author, the best of all of us in order to tell the entire story. But the style of the musician, of the writer, of the cinematographer comes from a very personal inner side.
So to follow up on that, maybe you could give us an example. You arrive on location first thing in the morning, perhaps it's Morocco or sheltering sky. The light conditions are totally, different from maybe what you imagined. How do you, or why do you make it happen the way you do?
Well, there is something that is very hard to explain, in a sense that probably nobody will believe in it. But I strongly believe on the fact that once you understand the main concept of the story, and you try to translate this in a main concept, the visual concept, you present to the director. If the director is agree with you, accept this kind of vision, and you start to believe in this vision, in the way that normally I'm approaching myself, and I'm putting on paper a kind of philosophic concept, visual concept of the picture. From that moment on, I'm writing on the script, scene by scene, a very single concept for every single scene. I'm writing a kind of wave of light, because a writer usually is telling to us day or night, but during the day we have aurora, dawn, morning, day, afternoon, sunset, dusk. There are so many chants, so many different moods, so many different elements that we can use, and I try to rewrite all of these magic moments during the day or during the night, and I try to find a color wave, what Einstein was calling the dramaturgy of color, the chance to move from one scene to another through the wave of the color spectrum. And when I do that, and I'm going to see the location, I do whatever research I can do, measurement, photograph, whatever, and try to see how I can use that concept into that place, or what in that kind of place will give me more support for my main idea. And I put in everything on the script. I almost draw in all the plant and where I can put the light, that I can give to the gaffer or the console operator, what they're supposed to do. The day that I wrote that maybe that scene is supposed to be cloudy, and I will find myself in a sunny day, you maybe don't believe me. But if you really believe that that's the way the scene is supposed to be, and that's the way they're supposed to be, magically something will happen. When you believe in something very strongly, when you love something very strongly, it's going to happen. I remember that in The Last Emperor, we were shooting when the emperor was throwing it out from the Forbidden City, and we arrived on the set. And I remember that day that I was a little exhausted, particularly when you come in. We went already in Changchun, we went already all around China. We did almost the entire movie. It was one of the last sequences. And you arrive at a moment and you think in yourself that you may be done. You maybe your concentration, your energy, you maybe finish all your work. So I really relaxed that day. It was incredible sunny sky, all blue. Nothing was there. And I said to myself, well, maybe this is the way it's supposed to be. Maybe why not? Don't worry, let's shoot Bernardo, whatever. We finished the morning. We arrived at the end of the day, soon after lunch. I remember during lunchtime I was, watching my dailies in my mind, what we done. And I was not totally happy. And I was not totally in sync with what I was establishing in my mind. After an hour of lunch, we came back on the set and the sky was black, totally black. We were watching all around, it almost was pouring water all over, but it was only black, the sky. Bernardo looked at me, Bertolucci, Jeremy Thomas, the producer, looked at me and said, Vittorio, do we go home? And I say, no, I think he's perfect. Can you imagine we have the emperor here playing tennis with all his court. And suddenly arrived this general, they won't throw him out. And suddenly the man, the emperor of the Forbidden City, the sun in heaven, suddenly has completely covered the sun, completely black. It's wonderful. That's the way it's supposed to finish this sequence. Yes, but how we can combine the two sequences? Don't worry. Tomorrow we're supposed to finish the sequence. I'm sure that tomorrow we can continue the sequence. We will catch one moment when maybe the cloudy will go over the sun and we can make it. Because anyhow, even if you go now at home, we don't shoot this beautiful magic light that we have, and tomorrow morning, in case it will be sunny, we have to redo it again. So better do it. Better say, okay, Vittorio, if you believe it, let's do it. We did the wonderful sequence in the afternoon. We came back on the day after. It was a totally blue sky with a big sun on the middle. And I said, don't worry, Bernardo. Vittorio, what we do? We shoot everything. I say, no. What we supposed to do? This and this and this. Okay. Tell me, which is the shot that can go between the sequence that we done in the morning, the sequence that we done in the afternoon? Well, it would be nice to be up there and having the soldier arriving. Okay, can we go with the dolly man and the gaffer and the K-grip? Let's go over there. This is the shot, blah, blah. Okay, prepare the dolly, prepare this one. I give all distraction. I say, stay here and ready. And I say, Bernardo, probably during the day, I will call you to stop everything we do. We should run over there and do it. Are you sure? Don't worry. So we continue filming, and I was using every possible thing to continue with my cloudy mood. I'm using screen, I'm using every possible thing to do close-up, everything. Suddenly, my eyes went over there. It was a little cloud, that big. And I said to my second camera operator, go up there. The dolly man, go up there, be ready. The assistant director, prepare your 3 extra over there. And I said, Bernardo, you don't mind that we go up there one moment? Okay, let's go over there. And I said, Bernardo, I will tell you when you can say roll. So let's do a rehearsal. Okay, you ready? You ready? You ready? Okay, roll anytime, Bernardo. And they say, okay, roll the camera, action. It was full of sun. The 3 soldiers were arriving, the camera was going on. And during the moment, the sun was covered. Light. Well, light, I think, is knowledge. Knowledge is love. Love is freedom. Freedom is energy. Energy is all. Without any doubt, without light, we can't have any images. Not at all. But light, for us can be the chance we can tell what we have inside ourselves. We can put the light over here. We can put here. We can put here. We can put here. We can put just in front or in the back. Change completely. And the way any cinematographer is using this kind of light can tell really a story, can write with light. Light, I think, is all. Light is the beginning. Lens is the one that captures this light. Film is the one that is recording. The camera is the one that gives it to us the chance to, with the director, to compose into that space the story. The problem today, one of the main problems that we have is the fact that the composition is a word that is almost forgotten in this world. We shouldn't, you know, like in painting, only a specific space can determine an art form. Otherwise, it's totally free. Only a painting art form is there because it's limited by the frame itself. So is the gate. The chance that we have today to compose an image is the chance to express ourselves in a cinematography art form. And that's why we should defend this art form. Because once we do particularly very wide films, and later they are transferred on television, and they are being mutilated on the side, they are changing the composition. If they change the composition of image, they change in the style of the movie, and they change the meaning of the movie itself. That's why, particularly when I started to work with Carlos Saura, and for him mainly the chance to express his culture in the Spanish culture through dancing, through music, in flamenco, for example, in tango, it was very essential that the frame, the composition will stay the same. And we realized that unfortunately moving an image in one form to another form, changing completely. So that's why we invented Univision. Univision means in Latin, unique vision between cinema and television. The idea came from, honestly, from Leonardo da Vinci. In watching his Last Supper. Last Supper is, Leonardo arrived at one point that he was searching for a divine proportion. And the divine proportion for him was 1:2. 1:2, I realized that is the great meeting point between cinema and television, between the very epic picture in the big screen and the very intimate story into a very small area. No doubt, if we can reach that point, we will do an incredible advance in our art form, because we are going to respect every single co-author of the film, from the director, from the scenographer, from the cinematographer, from the camera operator, because today we have a nightmare. Our image can change according to where it's being displayed. It's like we taking a painting and we cut the painting according to the size of the wall. And that's for us is really impossible to continue in this way. It's a great chance to respect the audience, because they have the right to see and to hear an image in the proper way, in the way it is being conceived. Univision practically is given to us a chance, like with this little frame over here, to use the entire film. Film is today, still today, is the most important element, the most important matter for us to express ourselves. It's such powerful, it's such value that it's ridiculous that we waste this incredible matter. In using totally the area just for the images, and using from perforation to perforation, we can achieve 24 millimeter, 2 to 1 is 12. Probably we can put frames much more closer to each other without having the frames far away from each other. And we can save this incredible value for us. So instead to have the camera running out of film every 11 minutes, we have another 25% of time, not only saving the material, the shipment or the development or the printing of this material itself, but the time that we have to record our thought, to record our story. This is such great value that from the moment that you conceive an image to the moment that you develop, you print, and you storage. In the storage, we can save 25% of space, because in any storage for the future record, we have to have an original negative, an interpositive, an internegative, a silver master separation, a soundtrack, and a print. And all this volume has a lot of empty space in between that we can save it. A unique image for cinema and television, in my opinion, probably will give it to us the chance to express better ourselves and to have a much better economy into the industry.
I'd like to get back to talking about color. Do you go through different phases of color, for example, the way Picasso did, different periods of your life, or is color influenced by the script or the mood? How does your approach to
To go back to my story, my personal story, if I think now, honestly, I never thought before. Yes, I did have my my blue period and my orange period. That was the time when I was very innocent, when I was mainly expressing myself emotionally without really knowing the symbology of color. Particularly from Spider Stratagem and The Conformist, I had this idea that in moving in The Conformist from the very claustrophobic feeling in Rome in 1930, there was not only emphasized the politic period, but mainly the separation that the leading character has into himself. The fact that he tried to be different from what he really was and tried to show only one side of himself outside, to be conformist, to hide something that was really part of his personality. So this separation, net separation between light and shadows was very clear, not to have an harmony between those sides of himself. In going to France, that at that time was representing the freedom, representing where everyone has some political problem could go in order to think and speak freely in any political concept. My chance was to open these light and shadows in order to have more harmony between, kind of an embrace between the light and shadows, and to see for the first time this sun color were there, because color are really, like Leonardo da Vinci said, the children of light and shadows. But at that time I didn't know why, and I didn't know because I could use one color to another. I went to an emotional state to use the color blue, to use what I thought the meeting point between the daylight in dying moment and the artificial light coming up, creating this kind of conflict of different energy, creating this kind of mood of blue. I didn't know that blue means freedom, means the concentration of the intelligence at that time. I went for a kind of emotion. I felt that Paris is supposed to be seen in that way. And I spoke to Bernardo, that Bernardo would love to do the entire sequence of dancing this way. And he said, Vittorio, I understand that what you mean, but believe me, we have only a few days to shoot the entire sequence before Christmas time. So we have to film it from 8 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock in the afternoon. Do whatever you want to do. So I organize every possible filter at the window. And finally, at the end of the journey, I realized that I did it. The entire Paris in conformist as this dimension, this vibration that was giving me this kind of emotion. After the conformist, no doubt I was continue to using this kind of wavelengths in different other films and trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper in using this color in different story, practically investigating the possibility that this wavelength had. When we arrived in Last Tango, and I remember, while I was shooting in Rome, Orlando Furioso, every weekend to meet Bernardo for location. And I was looking around at Paris, and I realized that Paris in wintertime, like any wintertime, has all the light on during the daytime. If there's light on, it should be much more orange, this one. So after the discovery of this great emotion like blue in Paris, in The Conformist, I felt that I need to discover even deeper the possibility of this vibration, of this color. So many other movies that I've done after The Conformist, several ones, I tried to use this color to investigate in the possibility of this color, till they get in a Last Tango in Paris. And I remember that I was going to see Bernardo every weekend in Paris. And I was so astonished about the chance that Paris, a city in winter, have all the lights on, was like a city light. And the artificial light, when it's on during the daytime, has a kind of conflict between the artificial energy and the natural energy. It was giving me the feeling totally different, almost opposite, complementary of the blue of the conformist, and orange, like the warm feeling, the kind of womb of the mother of the city of Paris that was embracing ourselves. And I felt that it was kind of magic that suddenly the same city and different story can have a completely different mood. And I said, Bernardo, this is wonderful. This is like the city of light. And this color probably is given to us the warm feeling that this story needs. I honestly didn't know at the time the meaning of the orange, the connection between the color orange and the father figure, the feeling of the mother womb, the feeling of passion. But I felt that was right. In other words, the color period that we can have in our life, in painting, in photography, in cinematography, I think they mainly came from an emotion, from an inner need for us to express ourselves in that direction. Later, only later, in fact, also after Last Tango in Paris, there was completely battered to this color. I used this color in Identikit, in Giordano Bruno, in Elizia, in different films, because I discovered different level of this color, like before I did with the blue, till after Apocalypse Now, that I confront these two main color, these two main energy, artificial and natural energy, in order to tell the conflict of the two different culture, two different civility, that overimposing it's one on top to another was creating a major conflict. That's the moment that I felt that I need to know now, in a conscious way. That's where I stop. And in my opinion, it's very important, particularly on the peak of your career, to realize that that's the moment that maybe you have to stop, to think about, to research about, to do any experiment, any study, any research, to know why you've done everything you've done, to understand the meaning of what you're doing, in order that you really realize why you are there in that specific moment in your life, with all the knowledge that you've done, in trying to go deeper as you can to discover the chance that you have in your creativity, and from that moment on, fly up into another universe, into another step, into another level. And from that moment on, after 1 year or research study after Apocalypse Now, I was able to go directly into another world, which was the world of color, and that was wonderful.
I'd like to talk a little bit about technique and technology. I've read some of your interviews, and even though you're an artist, you also seem to recognize the role that tools of the trade have to play in the evolution of the art. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship of technique and technology? If one comes first, if the other comes first, how it all connects?
I remember probably 30 years ago that I was wondering why in performing with the light in front of me and watching this organizational light I was doing, I was always worried how this balance between shadows, penumbra, light can be captured by one lens going to film gate, having a different film that record this kind of light. And the way they can develop, print, screened, can change what it was in front of me at the beginning. And I remember Luca Ronconi, the director that did Orlando Furioso, proposed me to do theater. And suddenly I realized, well, maybe something I want to do. Maybe finally I will be free from the tools. I will be free from the technical elements. That even if I know very well, and I know exactly in the way that I can choose one lens to another, one film to another, one camera to another, I know that somehow they never exactly are reproducing what is in front of my eyes. So I did for one season just theater, and I was able to perform directly in front of an audience only with light. And I discovered that was not my own creativity was not completed until they was captured by a lens, by a film, by a camera, by a developer, by a printer, by a screen, by a projector on the screen. That I was really a cinematographer. The chance for us to choose one lens of another So it's the different glass that probably are recording that image or having all the lights going through in different way. One film to another, they capture different wavelengths in different mood. The way it's been developed or printed, the incredible value that the timer in the laboratory has for us. Is another additional mind that's putting his own sensitivity on top of ours. That even if you're taking decision which one can be the right or wrong, it add his own creativity. Always, for me, Ernesto Novelli, Carlo Labella, Dale Gran, and are essential for me to complete my performance, let's say. And since then, I refused to do any work in theater unless it can be recorded in a kind of media, because the cinematographer work really is complete in itself when the image is being captured. Doesn't matter if it's digital, doesn't matter if it's analog, doesn't matter if it's on film, doesn't matter if it's on an electronic device, but have to be recorded in a media, it have to be screened.
So the lens helps create an emotion, it seems.
Well, without a lens, you don't have an image. If you don't have an image, you don't have film. So any lens is the difference between the concept of Leonardo da Vinci when he was thinking about the concept of camera oscura. That was really the first that studied this kind of possibility. And Giambattista della Porta, the really creating the camera oscura, was the lens. Giambattista della Porta put one lens in their little hall that Leonardo da Vinci discovered that in a dark room, having the light in front with a hole, you can have an image. Putting the lens was making this image, let's say, more precise of what really the external world was about. Not just a ghost image, but was really an image that later was helping painters to paint following any line that was done in the camera oscura. They're helping the photographer to invent photography. They're helping us to perform ourselves in cinematography.
And last question, what is the future of cinematography? Where are we headed? Where are we going?
I think that since the first graffiti that was done into a cave, through the entire journey, the visual art did in drawing, in painting on wood, painting on canvas, photography, cinematography, electronic image, digital, chance that we have today, even in computer graphic. No doubt that more and more and more we have this kind of restriction of matter into really pure energy. The famous formula E equal mc squared of Albert Einstein also in this expression is perfect. Step by step the matter become more subtle, become more and more pure energy. Practically, if you're thinking of the technology that we used 20, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, step by step we can see the physical elements are going to be reduced. More and more and more is going towards something very, very, very minimum. But there is only one thing that never changes, the idea. The idea doesn't matter if you do on stone, on wood, on canvas, on films, or in electronic. The idea is the one that really stays, always, because it's energy, because it's part of ourselves. E equal mc squared is what our life means, really. That's my opinion. Vittorio Storaro.